February 8, 2004, began like any other Sunday for Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. To her friends and family, she appeared cheerful and normal, hard-working, disciplined, and bright. But beneath the surface, some say, Maura carried secrets that even those closest to her could not fully understand. She had recently been dealing with minor academic pressures and personal matters, though nothing seemed extreme enough to predict the events that would unfold the very next day. On this cold, wintry morning in Amherst, Maura made several small but curious preparations. She emailed her professors, claiming she would be taking a week off due to a family emergency. She also withdrew $280 from her bank account, packed her belongings, and even stocked up on snacks. These actions seemed ordinary, but in hindsight, they were pieces of a puzzle that no one would be able to put together for years. What set this day apart was the subtle tension that seemed to hang around Maura. Her roommates noticed her quiet demeanor, and her boyfriend at the time mentioned that she appeared distracted, almost distant. Maura had always been meticulous, but on this day, there were unusual gaps in her plans. She told friends she was heading home to check on her family in Haverhill, New Hampshire, just a few hours away, but she never mentioned the route she would take or her exact plans. By late afternoon, Maura was on the road. Witnesses would later describe seeing her drive along the rural roads of New Hampshire, a route that would eventually lead her into the snowy woods that hide so many of America's darkest secrets. Along the way, she stopped at a local convenience store, though the reason for her stop remains unclear. Some believe she was buying essentials. Others suspect she may have been checking her surroundings or even planning her next move. So the most chilling piece of this first chapter is the small, almost trivial choices that would later weigh heavily on investigators. Maura sent a cryptic email to a friend, vague and unsettling in tone, but she didn't specify anything that could explain her intentions. She made several phone calls, including one to her boyfriend, which ended abruptly and left both parties confused. These moments were ordinary enough to be dismissed at the time, yet they now serve as the opening lines of a mystery that would capture the attention of true crime enthusiasts for decades. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Maura continued her journey through the snowy back roads of Haverhill. The weather was harsh, with icy patches forming on the asphalt, reducing traction and making travel hazardous. Yet she seemed confident, perhaps even determined, driving a path that would lead her into history as one of the most perplexing unsolved disappearances in New Hampshire. Around early evening, near the small town of Woodsville, she was involved in a minor car accident. Her vehicle had struck a snowbank after losing control on the icy road. Police would later arrive on the scene, but Maura's behavior baffled them. She was calm, almost eerily composed, giving vague answers to questions about her identity and destination. When officers asked her to wait for help, she disappeared into the night. It was the last confirmed sighting of Maura Murray. By the end of Chapter 1, the threads of Maura's life, her family, her studies, her friends, remained firmly in place, yet she herself had vanished. What seemed like a normal day had become the starting point of a mystery that continues to haunt law enforcement and the public alike. Every decision she made, every stop she took, and every message she sent now carries weight, like breadcrumbs left behind on a path that leads to a truth still shrouded in shadows. This first day sets the stage for the investigation, the questions, and the theories that will consume those who dare to follow her story. From this point forward, the disappearance of Maura Murray becomes more than a personal tragedy. It becomes a puzzle that demands answers. The disappearance of Maura Murray sent shockwaves through Haverhill, New Hampshire, and quickly captured national attention. What began as a routine response to a minor car accident quickly escalated into a full-scale search, one that would leave authorities puzzled and the public captivated by unanswered questions. From the moment police arrived at the scene, it became clear that Maura's case was far from ordinary. Officers first encountered her vehicle, a dark blue Saturn lodged awkwardly against a snowbank on Route 112. The car appeared damaged but drivable, and inside were belongings that suggested a sudden departure rather than a carefully planned escape. Her wallet, purse, and cell phone were missing, leaving investigators with a growing list of uncertainties. Had she walked into the night voluntarily, or had someone else been involved? The scene offered no definitive answers, only more questions. Eyewitnesses later provided fragmented glimpses of Maura's final moments. A passerby claimed to have seen a young woman matching her description walking along the side of the road near the accident site. Another account described a suspicious vehicle in the area around the same time. These accounts were inconsistent, sometimes contradictory, but they became crucial threads in an investigation that would rely heavily on circumstantial evidence. Authorities quickly launched searches of the surrounding woods and rural areas, deploying both local law enforcement and volunteers. Helicopters combed the snow-covered hills, search dogs scoured the underbrush, and roadblocks were established along potential exit routes. Yet, despite the extensive efforts, no trace of Maura emerged. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. Family and friends were interviewed extensively, revealing both ordinary routines and unusual behaviors. Maura had been described as independent and resourceful, someone capable of making her way through difficult situations. Yet, she had also been under stress in the weeks leading up to her disappearance, balancing the pressures of college life with personal concerns that remain largely private. Investigators noted that while there was no immediate evidence of foul play, nothing could be ruled out. The ambiguity only deepened the mystery. As news of the disappearance spread, online communities began to form, each theorizing about what might have happened. Some speculated that Maura had staged her own disappearance to escape perceived pressures or conflicts. Others proposed darker possibilities, suggesting abduction or accidental death in the remote, snowy terrain. These theories, while unproven, fueled media coverage and public fascination, ensuring that the story would not fade quietly into obscurity. The investigation also revealed troubling gaps in the timeline. Police struggled to determine her exact movements after leaving Amherst. Phone records, emails, and financial transactions offered fragmented clues, but none provided a clear picture of her intentions. Some investigators questioned whether Maura had planned her disappearance carefully, or if a series of spontaneous decisions had led her into danger. In the weeks that followed, law enforcement faced criticism for the challenges in locating Maura. Rural roads, heavy snow, and the sheer unpredictability of human behavior complicated the search. Each lead, no matter how promising, ended with disappointment, leaving family members desperate for answers. Her parents, both deeply involved in the search, experienced the agonizing tension of hope and despair, hoping that any small clue might guide authorities to her locators. By the end of Chapter 2, the investigation had revealed only fragments of the truth. The physical evidence was sparse, the witness accounts unreliable, and Maura's motives unclear. Each passing day added to the urgency, but also to the sense of helplessness. Authorities, friends, and online communities continued to analyze every detail, yet the disappearance remained an unsolved puzzle. The story of Maura Murray had now transformed from a personal tragedy into a case study in mystery, uncertainty, and the limits of human understanding. Every lead, every report, every new theory brought both hope and frustration as the world grappled with the haunting question: what truly happened to Maura Murray on that cold February night in New Hampshire? Theories, mysteries, and a case that haunts as the days turned into weeks and the weeks into months. Maura Murray's disappearance remained unsolved, leaving both investigators and the public grasping for answers. Every lead seemed to dissolve into uncertainty, and every new tip either contradicted previous accounts or led nowhere. Yet the mystery refused to fade, sparking countless theories and debates that persist to this day. One prevailing theory suggests that Maura may have staged her own disappearance. Advocates of this idea point to the careful preparation she made prior to leaving Amherst, the withdrawal of cash, the packed belongings, and the vague email to her professors as evidence that she intended to vanish deliberately. Perhaps, they argue, she wanted to escape the pressures of school, family expectations, or personal relationships. Yet skeptics note that the harsh winter conditions, the remote location, and her lack of clear destination make this scenario difficult to reconcile with a planned escape. Others believe that foul play may have been involved. The minor car accident on Route 112, initially seen as routine, could have been the entry point for someone with sinister intentions. Reports of Suspicious vehicles and unidentified individuals in the area around the time of her disappearance lend some weight to this possibility. However, no physical evidence has ever been recovered to confirm abduction, leaving these claims in the realm of speculation. A third theory revolves around the treacherous terrain surrounding Haverhill. The roads and forests of northern New Hampshire are unforgiving, particularly in the dead of winter. It is conceivable that Maura, perhaps disoriented or exhausted, wandered into the woods and succumbed to the elements. Search parties combed miles of snow-covered wilderness without finding a trace, yet the possibility cannot be ruled out entirely. This explanation, while grim, aligns with the unpredictable nature of outdoor accidents in remote areas. Online communities and armchair investigators have kept the case alive for decades, analyzing photographs, timelines, and witness statements in minute detail. Some focus on alleged sightings of Maura in the years following her disappearance, though none have been verified. Others dig into her personal life, searching for hidden motives or overlooked clues. While these discussions have generated extensive documentation and media coverage, they have yet to yield a definitive breakthrough. Despite the lack of resolution, Maura's story has left a profound impact. Her disappearance highlights the complexities of missing person investigations, particularly when evidence is sparse and the subject is an adult capable of independent action. It also exposes the limitations faced by law enforcement in rural regions, where terrain, weather, and jurisdictional challenges complicate even the most well-organized search efforts. For Maura's family, the pain is enduring. Her parents, friends, and loved ones continue to search for answers, holding on to the hope that someday a clue might emerge to explain what truly happened. The public's fascination with the case has provided both comfort and frustration, as theories abound, but confirmation remains elusive. The story has become emblematic of unsolved disappearances, a chilling reminder that not every missing person is found, and not every question receives an answer. As time passes, Maura Murray's disappearance has evolved from an isolated tragedy into a symbol of mystery and intrigue. It challenges the way we think about disappearance, personal choice, and the boundaries between life, chance, and misfortune. Each February, when the anniversary of her last known sighting approaches, media outlets revisit the case and online communities reignite discussions, ensuring that Maura's story is not forgotten. Chapter 3 closes without a resolution, but the unanswered questions are precisely what make this case haunting. What motivated Maura to leave Amherst that day? Did she vanish willingly, or was she taken? Will new evidence ever surface to illuminate the truth? The story of Maura Murray reminds us that some mysteries are designed to remain unsolved, leaving only shadows, speculation, and the enduring human desire to know. Her disappearance is more than a cold case. It is a chilling narrative of uncertainty, a puzzle that continues to fascinate and terrify. And until the day the truth emerges, the roads of Haverhill, New Hampshire, remain silent witnesses to a young woman who vanished without a trace, leaving the world to wonder, decades later, what became of Maura Murray.